The movie opens up with the greatest escape artist of all time, Harry Houdini, standing on the edge of a bridge, all tied up with metal chains and ready to jump. In the background, Houdini mentions that while other people want to escape from their hectic life, he is always trying to escape death, performing risky acts. He then jumps off the bridge right into the frozen lake, while a huge crowd of people watches on with amazement. The movie then cuts back to 17 years ago, where Houdini arrives at a brothel-like place with his wife, Bess Houdini, to perform and entertain the audience there. However, seeing the dilapidated and vile state of the place, Houdini changes his mind and decides to walk out. But Bess asserts that they have no choice, as money is running out for them. She then announces to the people there that Houdini is going to perform an act in which he will escape from a closed trunk while still being handcuffed. While most of the people are amused, one of them scoffs that anyone can do it, as the handcuffs they brought are fake. But Houdini, who always has a backup plan, tells the audience that he will wear any handcuffs that are given to him. Surprisingly, the man who labeled their performance as fake turns out to be a cop himself, and he throws some real handcuffs in front of them. At first, Houdini gets nervous because of the intense pressure, but when the cops put the cuffs on his hands, he gets riled up. He then slowly turns away and opens it using a pin-like thing hidden in his belt. This immediately impresses the crowd, including the cop, and all of them applaud him with respect. From that day onwards, Houdini became famous throughout America with the title of Best Escape Artist. He started performing several other shows, escaping from not only handcuffs but also from metal chains wrapped around his body. One night, Bess mentions that she wants to do something else other than performing shows, but Houdini makes it clear that he does not want to return to a normal life. Instead, he wants to be the best escape artist in the world. With this, the scene flashes back to several decades earlier, when Houdini and his brother Das are looking at a travel group performing an illusionary act. Houdini is so intrigued by the performance that he instantly started dreaming of becoming a magician and making a living out of it. And with the days passing by, he learns small tricks and earns some money from it. Houdini brings the money home to his mother and makes her happy, but his father isn't really fond of Houdini performing in public. Because of this, he leaves his house with his brother at an early age and decides to do something on his own. Together, the Houdini brothers start to perform on the streets and collect money to support their mother. A few years pass by, and one day, while performing on the streets, Houdini notices his future partner Bess dancing for a performance group. He secretly watches her perform and quickly falls for her beauty and elegance. After the act, he approaches Bess and asks her if she would like to work with him, to which she accepts. From that day onwards, the two get along very well and travel around the world, performing magic tricks for renowned people. Houdini's brother Das, who is still in the States, tries to copy his tricks to stay relevant. However, Houdini doesn't like this and decides to perform even riskier tricks which no one can even dare replicate. The scene then shifts to 1896, where Houdini and Bess visit a popular prison and ask the head sheriff to lock him up. Expectedly, the sheriff refuses, mentioning that he can only lock up criminals. But when Houdini starts making fun of their prison quality and bets $100 for the cause, he becomes enraged and agrees to do it. Here, we get to know that Houdini wants to do this stunt, as it would gain a lot of publicity, even without paying off the newspapers. Meanwhile, the sheriff locks up Houdini pretty well, and Bess gives him a kiss before leaving. The sheriff suspects that she has transferred something into his mouth, but when he checks, he finds nothing. After the coast is clear, Houdini pulls out a metal key opener that he had swallowed after kissing Bess, and uses it to escape the prison. As a result, the media goes into a frenzy, and Houdini becomes famous overnight. The fans even start recommending him to escape from bigger and more secure prisons. Houdini accepts one of these challenges and arrives in Chicago, Illinois in the year 1900 to perform a trick. This time he is wrapped with metal chains all over his body, and even his mouth is covered with a strap, suspecting that Bess passed him a key earlier while kissing. However, to the prison guard's dismay, after only 5 minutes of being locked up, Houdini escapes from the prison without leaving any trace of himself behind. After his numerous prison escapes, Houdini becomes famous all over the globe by the names the Handcuff King and the Breaker of Chains, Khaleesi. One day, Houdini can be seen shopping for prop items. In a shop, he meets the owner, Jim Collins, who seems to know him very well and also claims to have designed most of the items in the shop. Houdini is really impressed with Jim's work, including the one in which the performer has to escape after hanging upside down inside a box filled with water. After a few days, Houdini and Bess visit Jim at his workshop, where he has created a model for the water container act. As soon as he sees the box, Houdini hops into the container with the aid of Jim's assistants to check for how long he'll be be able to stop his breathing underwater. He impressively stays still for a few minutes and signals to be let out. But unfortunately, when Jim and his crew try to pull Houdini out, the rectangular box on top of the container gets stuck, horrifying everyone around. Fortunately, Jim has an axe lying around, which he uses to shatter the container and set Houdini free. The scene then fast forwards to the time where Houdini is performing the water container act live in front of a large audience. He also informs the audience that in case of emergency, he has the head of the fire department office holding an axe to break open the container. Houdini then starts performing the act with his legs trapped in the rectangular box. Jim is hosting the show and he asks the assistants to cover the container. A few minutes pass by, but Houdini shows no movement, so the crowd starts getting anxious. As a result, the head of the Chicago Fire Department arrives there to break the container, and when he turns back, he is revealed to be none other than Houdini himself. The crowd roars in astonishment as they have never witnessed anything like this before. With Houdini's popularity spreading all across the nation, the director of the U.S. Secret Service begins investigating him. They believe that Houdini is an illegal immigrant who has been fooling people with useless acts. But fortunately, before any roadblocks appear, Houdini is approached by Sir William Melville, the head of the British Secret Service, MI5. William modifies Houdini's place of birth from Hungary to the US, and in return, asks for secret information from the enemies of the USA and the UK. Acting on the plan, Houdini heads to Germany and performs for the great Kaiser family. He eventually blows their mind after performing a nearly impossible bullet-catching magic trick. Following this, Houdini meets with Riley, one of William's officers, and provides him with some secret information that he overheard while being around the Kaisers. Riley is really impressed by the work and showers heaps of praise on him. He then leaves, but not before giving Houdini a red book containing Russian grammar, setting him up for the next mission. A few days later, Houdini and his partner Bess can be seen performing for a prestigious and powerful family in Moscow, Russia. To win their hearts, Houdini cleverly plays a game where he will fulfill their wishes. He makes them write down their wishes and lets the daughter of the family pick one. It reads, "Ring the Kremlin bell." Everyone laughs at the wish, as the Kremlin has not been rung in over 100 years. But Houdini, being Houdini, uses magic to create a small rope, which he lets the small girl tug, and as soon as she does so, the Kremlin bell starts to ring, leaving everyone in utter disbelief. They even bow their heads to pay their respects. I'm sure Houdini would have preferred money, but I guess a head bow is cool. The next day, Houdini meets William in London and provides him with information about what the Russians are up to. William praises his excellent work and also inquires about how he was able to ring the Kremlin bell. Houdini reveals that everything was set up. When the little girl chose a wish, he secretly switched it with the one he had already prepared, and every time the girl tugged on the rope, his assistant Jim, who was watching from afar, shot the Kremlin bell with his sniper. Before departing, William tells Houdini that he now wants him to go visit the German ambassador and extract some useful information from them. The scene then shifts to Germany, where Houdini is performing a new trick in front of the audience and the German ambassador. Jim mentions that Houdini is locked inside the safe, in which he has only 10 minutes of breathing time. However, in reality, Houdini is not in the safe, but inside the ambassador's office, trying to find some important papers. Unfortunately, while he is snooping around the place, the ambassador returns to his office with a girl, compelling Houdini to hide inside the safe. And to make matters worse, the ambassador notices the safe slightly ajar, prompting him to lock it properly. Houdini, despite being an expert in opening locks, starts feeling the pressure as he's never been inside a real safe before. But with time running out, he remembers that he is Harry Houdini, the greatest showman that the world has ever seen. With this motivation, he starts counting the number of locks present in the safe by remembering the clicks he heard when the ambassador locked it. And with only a few minutes remaining, he successfully opens every single lock and gets out of the safe. Back on the stage, when Jim opens the safe, he finds it filled with several 10-year anniversary gifts for Bess. Meanwhile, Houdini meets up with William and hands him the documents before entering the stage and thanking Bess for being his partner and tolerating him for the last 10 years. However, she doesn't like the fake gesture. She confronts Houdini after the show and states that he only cares about entertaining the audience and nothing else. One thing leads to another, and the two get into an argument, which results in Houdini spending the night alone in the bathroom. The one thing Houdini can't escape is the doghouse. One day, Houdini and Jim are watching a video performance of Charlie Chaplin inside a theater. Houdini believes that Charlie's not doing anything special, but Jim tells him that he's the new competition. Later at night, Houdini returns home and again argues with Bess. The latter urges Houdini to quit risking his life, but he mentions that he enjoys putting people in confusion and emerging alive. As the two continue discussing, Houdini notices a glass filled with ice and decides to use it in his next trick. He then rushes to the bathroom and calls Jim to bring buckets full of ice and pour them into the tub. After this, he lies inside the bathtub tub filled with ice, practicing for his next stunt. A few days later, Houdini can be seen standing on the edge of a bridge with his hands tied by metal chains, ready to jump inside a pool of frozen water. The scene is the same one from the start of the movie. After Houdini jumps, Bess gets frightened and anxious, but to her and everyone else's delight, Houdini manages to unlock his metal chains and handcuffs underwater in only a matter of minutes. However, just when it seems the performance is over, Houdini is swept away by the water currents. He struggles for a while, trying to find a way out, until he envisions his mother there, and with her help and guidance, he safely escapes the frozen water. Seeing her husband risking his life to the bits every time he performs his stunts, Bess again argues with him at home. At first, Houdini gets angry and walks away, but later, he returns home and apologizes to her for overreacting. He also agrees to do only safe acts from now on. Following this, during the next act, Houdini does not risk his life and makes an elephant disappear into thin air, surprising the audience. After the performance, he is approached by the British agent from earlier, Riley, who asks him to visit Europe and Washington to bring some secret information for them. Houdini tries to decline the request, but Riley convinces him by saying that his fans will love a world tour. The scene then shifts to the Empire Theatre in 1914, where Sir Arthur, the writer of Sherlock Holmes, is also amongst the audience. As he watches with eagerness, Houdini performs an act of walking through a brick wall, surprising everyone. After the performance, Arthur approaches Houdini in person and praises him for his great act. Unfortunately, as soon as Arthur leaves, Jim meets Houdini and hands him a telegram. Houdini reads the letter, which is from his brother, informing him of their mother's death. With the news, Houdini is devastated and collapses on the floor. Bess rushes to him and carries him on her lap. After Houdini calms down a bit, he requests Bess stop his brother from burying his mother until he arrives for the funeral. In the next scene, Houdini can be seen at his mother's funeral, where Jim inquires if he can contact her using his supernatural power that he performed in one of his acts before. However, Houdini clears that the act was merely a trick to entertain the audience and that he possesses no supernatural ability. After the tragedy, Houdini's persona completely changes. He starts getting more involved in movies, but every day, he imagines contacting his mother using divine powers. He tries contacting several clairvoyants who claim that they can contact the spirits of dead people. However, all of them turn out to be phony. Enraged, Houdini exposes them and even writes a book about them in 1925 AD. One day, Houdini again meets Sir Arthur and his wife Lady Doyle, the latter who claims to be a clairvoyant. Lady Doyle asserts that she can make him contact his mother and prepares for a personal sitting with him. At the same time, a fortune teller arrives, and when Houdini asks her to tell his fortune, she reads his palm and predicts that he will die soon. Thanks for that. Here's $5. Afterward, Houdini is with the Doyle couple, preparing to summon his mother's spirit. Lady Doyle picks a pencil and writes something on a piece of paper, supposedly under the influence of Houdini's mother's spirit. Following the procedure, Houdini becomes happy and thanks Lady Doyle for contacting his mother. Unfortunately, when Houdini examines the texts written by Lady Doyle, he finds them to be fake. He finds clear English writing in the text, while his mother couldn't even speak a word of the language. He also tells Jim that it was his birthday that day and that his mother would never forget that. With this proof, he declares that Lady Doyle is fake and exposes her and Sir Arthur via radio programs and newspaper interviews. He also declares that he will provide $25,000 to anyone who can make actual contact with his dead mother. In 1926, Houdini visits Boston, Massachusetts to meet a notorious clairvoyant who calls herself Marjorie. He attends one of her table sessions and exposes her fakeness. Enraged, Marjorie visits Houdini in his hotel room and tries to seduce him, but to no success. Hence, before leaving, she reminds Houdini that he will die soon, and after that, they will own his spirit. Houdini's next show is scheduled in Detroit, Michigan, where he performs the act of escaping a rectangular box filled with water. Houdini has performed the act on several occasions, but this time, he ends up fracturing his ankle. After the performance, a doctor visits him and asks him to take a rest, but Houdini responds that he cannot miss his show and hence decides to continue performing with a broken ankle. Later, while Houdini is with his fans, a guy approaches him and punches him hard in the stomach for speaking against Lady Doyle. Houdini whimpers in